thank you very much, Paddy. We've all heard of Indian Standard Time, and I gather we're running around 10 minutes late. I think it's more Irish Standard Time that we're running to at the moment. So friends, I'm delighted to be moderating this session with Binod Bawri ji. A few weeks ago, Prime Minister Modi launched this startup campaign, Startup India, Stand Up India, with tremendous fanfare. And by all accounts, across India and across the world, it was viewed with a significant amount of enthusiasm, interest, some intrigue. And I suppose the question on a lot of people's minds were, is this just yet another announcement, another flagship event, or is there something in this that really kickstart India's startup and innovation culture to take it to the next level? But a year ago, tucked away in Finance Minister Jaitley's budget was an announcement about the formation of an innovation mission, the Atal Innovation Mission, which was given some seed funding. And I'm delighted that Shri Binod Bawri ji, who is a member of the Atal Innovation Mission and one of the brainchilds, is with us here today to talk to us about the Innovation Mission, what its objectives are, what its plans are, and I'm sure all of us want to know whether or not it can really be the catalyst that Prime Minister Modi wants to set up a real innovation ecosystem, comparable and indeed a well-beating innovation ecosystem in India. So Bawri ji, welcome. Tell us a bit about Atal Innovation Mission.
The background is like this. See, how I look at it. There's a third space. The first space is you as entrepreneurs, technologists. The second space is your customer. And the third space is the government. The government can either be very helpful, it can be neutral, or it can be negative. Now, the most important thing is to understand how has this government today understood innovation. If you really look at it, you'll find that, well, wealth creation in the world has only taken place out of technology and innovation. This government, four things, if they don't understand, it will never happen. Do they understand the importance of this? Are they committed to promote innovation? Are they taking the right policies? Are they making the right corrections? I think the first three things they understand very well. Once they understand this very well, let's all support and see that, well, how they can become catalysts and how they can help us in whatever you all are doing. That's how I would look at it.
But, you know, a lot of skeptics would say one of two things. Either it's too little, too late. I believe the budget is only about $20–25 million or something that you've got. But going back to the late Pramod Mahajan, who as the IT minister of this country said that the technology industry in this country has been so successful, not because of government, but despite government. So what's the government now going to do in terms of coming into innovation? You know, there is a degree of skepticism in all of this.
So you see, let's look at it like this, that if the government should not do anything. In fact, what it is doing, it should help in seeing that whatever you all are doing, it becomes much more easy. For instance, can the laws become easier? Can your registration become easier? Can you get your patent very easily? And that's the role that the government is playing. And the Atal Innovation Mission as a whole, we are not directly funding, but we are putting policy statements. For instance, you'll find that government in this budget, they will announce a fund of funds, which is a very, very large funds. Now, we are giving policy inputs to see that, well, the whole thing works. The whole thing works. The fund with us requirement with us is very little. It's only the policy and how the policy is executed, which can give tremendous results, tremendous results.
So what would you say are the 2 or 3 big policy thrusts of the government that you think will make a huge difference to a lot of the startups in this room? You know, we had Finance Minister Jaitley and indeed the Prime Minister make those announcements about startups in the country. But out of those, or where's the real thrust in this? You know,
how is the government looking at it? The government is looking at it that how can we do two things? Number one, how can we see that whatever difficulty you are having because of the government, I mean, you don't get your registration, you don't get your IP, you have pollution control, it takes you 6 months to get a permission. How can we make that easy? And that's where ease of doing business in India, and I think it is having an effect. The second thing is that, well, look, how can the government become a catalyst? That is, I mean, can we make funding easily available to you? Can we do something where say incubation centers? One of the policies is that can we partner with education institutes and give you incubation centers, high quality incubation centers? We are even talking to Dave, who is here. Well, how can he suggest so that entrepreneurship can become better? It's more in terms of becoming catalyst, become a policy statement, becoming a help mechanism, and removing any of the bottlenecks which the government has done. And that's the way that we look that it will happen.
You mentioned intellectual property, and you know, as you know, I've been advising foreign companies investing into India for many years now, and there are two elements which particularly apply to startups. One is that there used to be this joke that copyright law in India meant the right to copy. And each one of these guys here is developing innovative solutions, they're developing their own IP. But that robustness, that trust within the legal framework to protect their IP is something that I keep hearing is holding them back. What is that big thing that the government should be doing, could be doing, to give the confidence of these guys and also their funders as well? And often their funders are international funders. And the second part of my of the problem is on funding, is that it's too expensive to raise capital in India. And therefore, you know, a lot of startups are actually setting up in Singapore, setting up in the UK or the US, and the subsidiaries are being here. So the funding's going there. The intrinsic value that we're creating in India is actually dividending out back into Singapore, UK, or the USA. Mm-hmm. So those two aspects. One is intellectual property, and secondly is, you know, the cost of borrowing.
Now, so as far as intellectual property is concerned, the government has already taken. I think it will become. They are trying to become get to world standards of giving you a patent very, very quickly. Large number of new patent officers are being recruited. I think in 1 year you will find a very, very big change in terms of patents. Yes, patent, I mean, how does this patent get protected by law? That's, I think it's still an issue, because I think let's get the first thing correct and then we'll get the second thing correct. The important thing to understand is that this government is serious about it. I'm not a government, I'm a part of a committee only, but I find that the government is serious, and that's a very big beginning. The cost of funds, as far as the cost of funds are concerned, the government, number one, it's also trying to give in funds so that venture capitalists come in. Another very interesting thing, I think it will come in the budget, though it's already been announced, that you would have no taxes for a number of years. And probably the number of years, say if it's 3 years, in the period of 10 years, you can decide which year you can have the tax exemption. This is another thing. You would probably not have any capital gains on the investment that you make. And a PE investor or venture capital, you would probably not have to pay capital gains on it. And your question about rate of interest, now that has to be looked on an overall basis. I mean, you cannot answer.
You don't have an inside track on that, on Rajan.
No, I would be very happy if it comes down because I'll pay less.
But in my introduction, I talked about, or alluded to, India competing with the rest of the world in terms of creating startup ecosystems. You're finding that around the world, governments are talking about this. And again, the concern is that India is much of a Me Too. We've always talked about an entrepreneurial culture in this country. You know, sadiyon se, you know, it's something that's been there in our blood, it's said. But what differentiates, or what do you think differentiates, or will differentiate India from, let's say, Tech City in the UK, or Silicon Valley, of course, in the USA? What's that differentiator that doesn't make us a Me Too and therefore an also ran?
If I look at it from the point of view of an entrepreneur or from a point of view of an investor, what do I see? I see 2, 3 things. I see, number one, that it's a huge market. It's a huge growing market. Now, that's a very big advantage. And anything that you do here, if something is invented in England or something is invented in Germany, you touch 1 billion people, or say 100 billion people. Whereas anything that you produce here will touch 500 billion people, but it can be used around the world. It can be used in Africa, it can be used anywhere. So I think the way to look at it is to look at it positively. And there is entrepreneurship, there is, we are also looking at, well, when you become an entrepreneur, you become a technocrat, can we protect you in some manner, supposing that particular thing doesn't work? Because you'll be very surprised to know that we have had a cabinet note approved where failure has been accepted by the government of India for the first time.
Well, that is an interesting, interesting point where, and I remember discussing this with Amitabh Kant a couple of months ago as well. He came back to me and said, well, you know, we're going to be coming through with with bankruptcy legislation. Well, let's see what happens in this budget session in terms of the passing of laws. But I think more fundamentally, and I've used the word culture a couple of times now, it's this, does India have a culture to accept failure? In Silicon Valley, for instance, you're only successful if you failed a few times. And actually people brag about it, that they talk through their experiences. It's an open conversation. Here I don't sense that we have that same sort of cultural acceptance of failure. So it's not so much the law. My view is it's how do you bring that culture in? Not that we want people to fail.
Yeah, but I think it is, when I go around the country, and there's so many young people here, and they're prepared to take failures. And it's first it comes from you inside and the society around you. And I think society today is accepting how many startups here. I mean, it's amazing, isn't it? So can we say, no, yes, it varies from state to state all over the country. It's different in different states. But that culture is being built up. It's being built up. It's being built up because you're also getting role models. Successful role models. So people like to migrate there. If the government can do a little, which is all right, some way can we see that, well, if somebody is not done very well, can he be protected for 2 years, something like that? But rest of it, it's cultural, and I think it's coming, Manoj Bhai. I think it's coming.
And you have an inside track on the Prime Minister's mind. What would be the advice to young entrepreneurs and innovators here as to what are those 3, 4, or 5 key priority areas where the government would acknowledge, would support innovation? Yes, you know, we could perhaps do with a few more taxi companies, a few more food distribution companies, that's all fine. But where are those priorities where innovation will not only be acknowledged, but you believe will be really celebrated and supported by this government?
3 very interesting things. One is that the Atal Innovation Mission will be in the next few months announcing what we call grand challenges. And these are about 10 grand challenges, specially oriented to the village people. Let's say, can we give them a battery at 1/4 the cost, twice the life? Your rural electricity problem is over. Can we give them water at 10 paisa? 25 liters every day, the waterborne problem is gone. Can we give them medical facilities at 1/4 the cost in the village level at a very, very economical cost? Now, like that, we're coming out with 10 grand challenges. And these grand challenges, I think, these are technical challenges, and they're challenges for these young people sitting here. They come out with this, and I mean, we're there to support. The second very interesting thing that we are doing is, we have made a commitment to the government of India that we will be creating, the Prime Minister has come out with a statement, why can there not be Googles and Gs from India? And we have said that we will create new enterprises in the next 5 years worth $300 to $500 billion without a single rupee being invested by the government of India. And I mean, I can get into the details how we are trying to do it. That's just to support you all, give you the right support so that you become successful. A number of schemes are there. Nothing else. We just become catalyst and support it. The third very interesting thing that we are doing is, when we talk about innovation, I think innovation is of two types. One is technical innovation and one is process innovation. And if you really look at successful large corporations in the world, they have 4 distinct features. They have, what I say is, they have objective measurements which they measure. They benchmark themselves. They try to bring in best practices, and they map the process of implementation. Now, we are suggesting to the government that, look, and it has been accepted in the cabinet, that, look, can the government work like this? If the government works like this, many of your problems are solved.
I was listening very intently to everything that you were saying, and I could see some of the media people in the first row. They took particular note of the fact that Atal Innovation Mission is going to support innovation to the tune of $300 to
$500 billion of new market cap for new companies in the next 5 years.
Within the next 5 years. That's their headline. Today's headline is that. that this is what the government's statement of intent is, and it's probably, half your market cap's going to be in this room in the next 5 years as well. Just one final question, and that is that, look, we're here in Bangalore, which is the hub of innovation. 40-odd% of all innovation or all startups come from this great city of Bangalore, despite traffic nagar here. And you guys are sitting in these ivory towers in Delhi. How do my friends here connect with you guys? What is it? Do they write a letter to you? What do they do?
No,
send an email?
Email contact is always welcome, but I'll tell you what Atal Innovation Mission is doing. See, it doesn't solve your day-to-day problem or your particular problem. It solves it from basic policy level. Let's say a new startup, one of the issues which is always coming, how do I go? When I give a tender, they say, you are new, I'll not give you a tender. Now there we try to change the policy so that if you are able to give a good product, you get in there. And we try to then monitor that it happens. So we don't come on a day-to-day basis to you for giving you help, but we come in a very significant manner. And there, if there are any suggestions, well, look, this is what we can do to help you, we would be, because the target is this $300 to $500 billion of new market cap, and we'll be very happy to help you in getting there.
Well, I hope you're carrying quite a significant number of cards, because you'll need it when you get into this audience. We've run out of time, friends. Please give a very, very big round of applause for Binod Bawri, representing Atal Innovation Mission. And I was joking to him that being a member of a government body, you are representing the President of India indirectly as well at this excellent event. So, friends, look, it's very clear that there is a statement of intent that Prime Minister Modi has made about supporting startups, and Atal Innovation Mission is one of those organizations that I think we should all be connected with. Hopefully you're on Twitter and Facebook and LinkedIn and all these other places, and maybe hopefully see you at Surge next year as well.
Thank you.
And you can report back to us all. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Manoj. Thank you. Thank you.